Back on the channel today, and what I'm going to do here at 20 yards is I'm going to shoot my Barebow with a clicker, like a regular clicker, and I'm going to see what kind of score I can shoot here. I've got a camera downrange, so you'll be able to see the impacts the entire time, and I'm going to let you know what I think about this, and I'm going to discuss with you a little bit more as to why I'm trying this experiment. So new look, if you haven't noticed yet, I got a new camera, a new lens, and a new setup to actually record footage, so it'll be much better as far as the quality, much higher quality. I'm running 4K now, and overall, I hope the look is looking much better. And if you think it is, or have any feedback, any suggestions, please let me know. Comment below, let me know what you think of the new look. And if it looks even better on your TV especially, please do let me know, because I know a good amount of my viewers are actually watching on their TV, as do most people on YouTube these days. So with that being said, I've got something I've been experimenting with. I've been experimenting with grip sears, tab sears, and all that stuff over the past several years for Barebow for the purpose of managing my target panic. I have terrible target panic, debilitating target panic, in fact, when shooting my Barebow. And it really just takes the fun and the enjoyment out of shooting Barebow because there's just so much stress involved, right? And I thought that the grip sear or the tab sear would be a good solution, and it does help to have a bit of a psycho trigger. And all of these ideas that I got originally came from Joel Turner with the Shot IQ. And so I've been trying some of those things, and it definitely helps, but because there is no actual physical punishment, no punishment meaning to the arrow to the score, if you shoot it without the clicker clicking, the grip sear clicking, then my brain realizes there's a workaround. For example, when you have a regular clicker like this, when it's mounted as a piece of steel or something like that that's against the arrow and pushing on the arrow tip itself, if you shoot it before the clicker clicks, your arrow, if you're a right-handed shooter, is going to go really far to the right, and you're going to have a really bad result, right? Possibly even missing the target, depending on how stiff your clicker is and how lightweight or slow your bow is. So there's no punishment if you shoot when the clicker doesn't click if you're using a grip sear or a tab sear. And this is one I've been messing around with here on this Yoast tab. I just kind of screwed on some spacers. These are actually spacers from the Kaminski Archery dampened Barebow weights, which are available for sale through my website, jkaminski.com, as well as through kaminskiarchery.com. We're working on getting those orders fulfilled here in the US, and it looks like probably shipping as early as the first week of December on all the back orders, and fulfilling all of those orders for at least the stainless weights, and a couple days later for the black weights. So if you haven't checked those out yet, do head to my website, jkaminski.com. I'll also have a link in the description below and a card at the top up there to the actual dampened Barebow weight video. In case you're interested in checking that out, I've got a lot of information there explaining what it is and why it's a better Barebow weight in my opinion. This was working pretty well as far as a tab sear is concerned, but the condition or the position that I have to put my thumb, that position is very difficult to actually reach, and it causes a lot of discomfort in my forearm, and I have to lose a huge amount of my index finger curl, a lot of my index finger pressure, which is really good for using back tension. And so it's just something that I'm really not happy and satisfied with. And again, no punishment if I shoot it too early. And because there is no punishment if I shoot it too early in some sort of tournament or an event or even in practice, it doesn't mean anything. And all it does is give me a workaround in my brain to not do the proper thing, which is obviously the worst possible way to execute shots. So with this clicker on my bow, all I'm going to do is just change a little bit about the Barebow technique. It's just going to basically tell me when to shoot. Yes, my draw length will be consistent or more consistent, but I think more importantly what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to aim in the middle and have a lot less stress and a lot more fun when shooting my Barebow. I'm just playing with this for now, and we'll see what happens over time. The main thing and the reason that I actually want to do this is last week I was coaching and I shot my Barebow for score alongside of somebody I was coaching to give them a little bit of a experience when shooting next to somebody else, and it was a struggle fest the entire time. I shot a 259 on a Lancaster scoring round as far as using the X as an 11, and like I said, it was just really stressful, very unenjoyable, and by the end of the 30 arrows I actually was not having a good time at all, even though it was just for fun. My competitive nature just won't allow me to move past that, and as you've heard me say many times on this channel, I just simply don't have time to spend to hone in the skill set of the grip sear, tab sear, mouth sear, psycho trigger, or triggerless shot. I just don't have the time, and so I'm going to play here with this clicker and see how it goes. I'm actually quite excited to see what the result ends up being. Like I said, I don't have this set yet. I had the clicker set roughly. This bow is actually not even tuned at all, so excuse the awful sound that this thing is going to make. I just want to shoot this exact setup that I shot last week, that I shot that 259, just for the sake of comparison, and I want to see what I end up with. This is very awkward to set this clicker and to not have the sniper dropping. Overall, far more pleasant to actually shoot. A whole lot less stress. And overall, I can shoot much better shots. So far, overall, I definitely like it already. I've only shot 4 arrows, or however many I just shot. Grouping much better, holding much steadier, overall way less anxiety, and I'm very excited to actually see what kind of score and how I end up feeling after 30 arrows, because there's always this new bow syndrome that happens in archery. You always feel like, this is it, this is the ticket, I've got the secret now, and then 5 minutes later, you're struggling again. So we'll see what happens, and yeah, so far so good. Clicker still a little long. Definitely can still make mistakes, of course, just like you do with a recurve. A little bit of a pluck there. Definitely a little distracting to see the clicker move out of the way. I don't like that personally. Alright, so it looks like I got my left and right down, still needing to figure out my crawl. Obviously that's not going away, there is no sight, and it still is how accurate can I put that thumbnail on the string, and then how accurate can I hook on the string relative to the thumbnail. So obviously still challenges there, but I'm going to start scoring here next end, and we'll see how it goes. Whew. Still a lot of shaking going on. Haven't shot much at all as usual, so ignore the shaking. There, much better. Considering that's for score, first 3 arrows for a score, very little levels of anxiety, relatively speaking. You know, especially concerned to not having a clicker. You know, obviously there's always a little bit of anxiety just because I'm here shooting on camera, trying to do stuff. This is the very first time. I'm also excited to see how it goes. So I'm doing my best to try to just shoot good shots. I'm also out of shape and definitely not in shooting shape. And so that adds to the level of anxiety per se. It's a terrible word. It's not the right word for it. But the bow weight is definitely much heavier than what I'd like it to be, the draw weight, that is. And it's definitely a little bit to manage, but these are the arrows I have and the limbs I have and all that stuff, and I'm basically all the weight out on the limb bolts, the tiller bolts, so I can't really do much there, but I'm going to shoot it anyway and see how it goes. This is actually a pretty good start to the first 3 arrows for score. Definitely was a little off on that one. I'm trying to experiment with making sure I'm pushing to the center. With Barebow, the angle due to where I'm aiming and the string walking definitely needs some optimization for that because I feel like it's hard to keep the pressure down low, and it's much easier to keep the pressure up in the throat of the grip. So putting pressure up here as I did on the last one obviously made that arrow go really, really low, that last shot. So this is definitely something that I'm going to have to experiment with, definitely something I couldn't even isolate before because of so much anxiety in regards to actually shooting when at full draw. But now that I have the ability to kind of focus on the form and the process and feel more, I'm noticing this kind of stuff, which is very interesting. I really wanted to let that one go. A little slow on the release there, pushing that arrow to the right. So far, very, very pleasantly surprised, even though I had a 6 on that last end. Still making huge strides as far as the ability to just feel what's going on and not be distracted by the anxiety from target panic. Crawl is so hard to get consistent. Just high, just low, just high, just low. Definitely can get away with a lot when you do well with the bow arm and maintain that driving of the pressure forward, just like in recurve, go figure. Definitely one of the better ends. I'm just over halfway through now, and the scores are way higher than the 259 that I shot without the clicker as expected. Anxiety's way less. Overall, far more enjoyable. We'll see how high the score actually ends up at the end. High again. All right, so last end for score. I'm gonna shoot these 3 arrows and I'm gonna take you down there while I score the arrows and give you some final thoughts as to what I think about shooting my barebow with a clicker. All right, excellent arrow to finish with. That second one just got away from me. Definitely not super consistent in my anchor and setting the pressure and all that stuff. We'll talk about it here in a second when I take the camera down range after I figure out what the final score was and tally it up. So I ended up with a 272 out of 330. 330 because the X counts as an 11 in Lancaster scoring. So compared to before where I shot a 259 to now a 272 is a considerable difference. It's only 13 points, but in my mind those 13 points are the easiest 13 points I could ever add to my score without doing really anything, and it felt a tremendous amount easier, far less stressful, and more importantly for me, way more enjoyable. Definitely some things that I've realized after doing this round are some faults and things that I would like to fix within my system, within Barebow, right? Like I said, setting the grip pressure forward, it's very hard to actually push it through the pressure point. It's much easier to go up through the pivot point because of string walking and probably my tiller balance. So those things could be adjusted to make things work a little bit better, maybe even the grip angle to be a little bit more comfortable, especially to be optimized for a single distance like 20 meters, or 18 meters rather, 20 yards. And you know, some other things as far as the actual tab position, where my anchor position is, how I'm setting the pressure against my face, and all of these other things that I've really just been unable to isolate and to work on, to even realize, first and foremost, I guess, that it's even a problem, then work on it, right? I can't even recognize that there's a problem because the target panic, the anxiety, the focusing on the grips here, the tabs here, the mouse here, the triggerless shot routine, whatever you want to call it, all sorts of different options that I've tried just don't work for me. They are too distracting, and if I took the time, maybe it would work. I just don't have that time. It's a bit of a luxury at the moment, and I just don't have that right at the present. There's a lot of things that I've been working on behind the scenes, as you know, launching Kaminski Archery Europe, getting support there as far as products to be able to be fulfilled from our Austrian hub, which is available and live, like I said, through my website, jkaminski.com. You can find the directions to get there or go direct to kaminskiarchery.com. You know, I've just been predisposed and preoccupied with many things, and finally I'm going to spend a little bit of time to play with this kind of stuff because I just have planned it. I have it scheduled, and that stuff that I'm going to be working on is this kinds of stuff to actually try to benefit from getting rid of that overall anxiety, to be able to just focus on the task at hand, shooting good shots, and more importantly, enjoying archery, as I've said before. So, you know, I did feel a whole lot better about this round. 272 is pretty good. Definitely would like to tune the bow and get it set up. I believe actually this bow is tuned and set up for my X10s, and I one day I don't remember what I was doing, but I picked up these arrows instead, just adjusted my center shot and didn't do anything else, and I can definitely see it in the way the arrows are flying. I'm positive that the nocking point's off. I'm positive that the actual tune is off. I think these arrows are possibly super stiff because the amount of pressure that I have on my button is actually pretty low, and they're definitely flying funny. Those high left 8s, there's like a big pile, a big group that I had over there throughout the scoring round, and I think a lot of those was definitely my fault, my mistake, but it was extra sensitive pushing that arrow up high left. I could just see the way that arrow was flying. It kicked tail left and just hit over there. And overall, it just didn't seem to behave how I would like it to. So I definitely am going to spend some time to tune this bow up with a set of arrows that I want to shoot for indoors and see what kind of scores I can actually shoot. Maybe I'll pull out the big ones, some 2312s or something like that. I don't have any RX7s that I would set up on this bow at the moment, but maybe. It really depends. I'd really like to get the clicker down on the front of the riser so that way I can shoot more of a regulated Barebow setup without a sight bar that I just have mounted here to hold my AAE extended gold clicker. Now, I'm a big fan of tinkering. I love playing with this kind of stuff, but I have to draw the line somewhere, and it sure looks a little awkward and a little weird to have a sight bar mounted on the bow when it's a Barebow with no sight on it, just for the sake of holding a clicker. So I'll definitely make sure at minimum I get myself set up with a set of arrows that are short enough that I can shoot a clicker off the front of the riser or mount it on the riser with an extended clicker, you know, just angled further out. That's really what I want to do because overall I feel like it would represent Barebow a little bit more. Yes, it's still a clicker. Yes, it's still checking my draw length. Yes, it still is a psycho trigger. I get it. But for me, in order to enjoy Barebow, I just really need to do this kind of thing at the moment. And it's a good experiment to actually see things that I wasn't unable to see before. Like I said, the form flaws, the form issues, and doing this kind of research on my own is ultimately going to let me make better content for you to explain to you the problems that I've found on my own in Barebow with a little bit more time. And of course, because of the lessened amount of anxiety, I'll be able to articulate, well, first discover and then articulate that better to you as to what my fixes are and the struggles that I've found as well. So this was a good fun experiment to see what happened, and I could test out my camera rig for the first time. I've got all sorts of different things going on here, and I would definitely like to hear your feedback. Maybe the audio quality is slightly different. It's the same microphone, but my levels are set up better, so it should just work better throughout my post-processing and get everything working correctly in my editing. Also, obviously, the camera's different. I'm shooting in 4K, shooting in 30 frames a second, and you know, definitely a much closer lens, so I'm getting a big depth of, not a small depth of field, so it does the blown out backgrounds a little bit better. I don't know, just looking for some feedback, what you think. I think that'll about do it for this video, and like I said, if you're interested in checking out the Kaminski Archery dampened Barebow weights, the Precision Tiller bolts, the Wave Pro vanes, there'll be links in the description below, and also any of the other products that I've used in this video, I will have links in the description below. If you do click those links before you shop, especially at Lancaster Archery Supply, genuinely helps this channel out. I don't offer any discount codes for Lancaster, but I do have discount codes down below for R-Core as well as the Push Archery. So the Alpha Pack, all of their quivers, as well as all of the R-Core grips, accessories, tabs, and all that stuff, all get 10% off if you use my name Kaminski at checkout, and it works for all of their products, not just the ones that I have my name on. Hey, if you like this video, consider sharing it, hitting the thumbs up button, and subscribing down below. Genuinely, that would help this channel grow. Can't thank you enough if you do that, and it really makes a big difference for this channel. And also, if you wouldn't mind, please do consider supporting this channel. There's many different links in the description below. I produce all this content for archers around the world to enjoy for free, and I can't thank my supporters enough. Without you, I wouldn't be able to produce this content, at least not to this level. So thanks.